Welcome back to the Bourbon Retriever. My name is Chris, and today we are doing a review of the President's Choice Rye that has just come out this past Father's Day. Now, this bottle is basically almost killed. Does that mean it's good? Let's go find out. So a couple weeks ago on Father's Day weekend, which also coincidentally lines up with National Bourbon Day, a lot of the distilleries in the Kentucky area did some massive drops on that day or that weekend. Old Forester, they dropped their President's Rye. This is the first time that this has hit market. At the drop, I know of at least barrel 8 and 10 that were dropped in Kentucky. This one is barrel 10. I know Zach from Bourbon Kingdom got barrel 8. And then online, they released a barrel, I want to say it's 13, 19, and 20 are the ones that were released. But all the rest of them, they will be released nationwide. This is the first year that President's Choice, the bourbons and the ryes, are released across the country. So hopefully this is it's not going to be easy, but hopefully it's easier to get in your areas because that's still like what, one barrel maybe for the whole state. Maybe some states might not even get a whole barrel, so it's still going to be hard to get. But at least now there's distribution to your areas where in the past you either had to be at Old Forester, like when this dropped, or you had to live in like one of the 4 states that they were willing to ship to. So all these President's Choice, the bourbons and the ryes, they're all going to be 700 mil instead of the 750. So you're losing 50 mils is like what, an ounce and a half or ounce and 3/4, something like that. So they're going to be smaller bottles, which I'm actually okay with because that means there are more, in theory, more bottles that are out there for people's hands to get on. I think ideally these would be like 375s. I think that would be perfect. So it doesn't really bother me that it's going down to 700. What does bother me is they kept the same price as when it was 750. So now you're paying the same price for less whiskey. And in the press release, they mentioned that these are all going to be 7 to 9 years going forward. However, a couple of the ryes in the drops were 10 years old plus. Both 8 and 10 were 124 months. So keep an eye out and see if any of the other ones are older. I noticed, I think barrel 4 is also 10 years old. So I think a lot of these earlier barrels are going to be slightly above that age limit, but my guess is since they said in the press release, the ones going forward are going to be closer to that 7 to 9 years old. And then the last couple of things before we jump into the review here, one of the differences they've done on the new bottles is they've gone from summers to months, which is nice. Now it's more accurate. When this is summers, a lot of people think that's a year, but you actually can have 11 summers in a 10-year age-dated bottle. So I think you're going to have, I like that there's more transparency. The only issue is now it involves more math. Like when I first got this bottle, when I saw it was 100 and 24 months, I had to like quickly do the math in my head, and I can tell you guys it was actually not quick. So it's going to take a little more brain computer power computing, but it is nice that they are now more transparent on that front. I don't know if there's ever a rye version. If you guys know, please let me know in the comments. I would be very interested in seeing that label because I've only seen the very old bourbon labels. But I wonder if they've ever done the old ryes or if this is the first time they've ever done the rye. But with all that history in the background, let's go ahead and jump into a pour. Cheers. All right, this is smelling a lot different than fresh crack. When it was a fresh crack, this was much more rye forward, spicy, punching in your face. But now that there's been a lot more air in it, the darker caramels have now come through, and it's a much richer drinking experience. This smells amazing on the aroma. It's like giving me, I'm trying to think how to describe this. It's like if you mixed 1924 with some like Michter's 10 notes. Kind of melding those two together is a lot what I'm getting in here, but it's a lot more in your face than the Michter's 10 because Michter's 10 is proof down, sub 100 proofer, whereas these are all the ones I've seen have been around the 60 proof whiskey, a little higher than that. So you're looking at not 60 proof, 60%, 61%. So it's 122 proof. So there's a lot more proof going into this one. Yeah, deep, rich caramel for days on the aroma with a nice, rich oak in the background there. And then more the fruit side, I'm not getting banana like you might get on some Old Forester, mostly Jack Daniels products. Not getting any of that, but it's more of like a it's definitely a mold. I don't know, is it mold? It's or older fruit that's not ripe, not off the tree at all. Like someone that's been sitting in your fridge for days, maybe starting to get a little mold on it, like more older, richer fruit. Yeah, wow, that is really good. Okay, a better way to describe it, not moldy fruit, but I think if you took like a molasses jam, like deep, rich, dark molasses, and somehow got some grape, cherry, uh, preserved jam mixed together. That is almost exactly what this is. And then if you guys look, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but this is dark, really dark whiskey. So that has a really nice color on it. Man, that is a really good. Yeah, I would not guess rye off the aroma. I would have 100% guessed bourbon, just smelling this with how rich it is. I'm not getting any of like the minty, light, baking spice kind of rye grain that you often get with ryes. That is not present at all, but let's go ahead and jump into the palate. Okay, on the palate there, there's 100% rye. This is, you now tell it's a rye. Ton of that baking spice in the back. It's not in the back actually. It's throughout the middle of the palate. That spice is kind of tingling your tongue through the whole process. And kind of surprising, I'm getting a lot more of like citrus, like a lemon, lime, not really orange, but like the zest of those citrus notes is going all through the mid palate of this, which I was a little surprised given the aroma, how dark it was. Because typically I get those citrus notes on like lighter whiskeys. So it's really throwing me a loop that I'm getting such different experiences on the aroma in the palate there. But let's go for a second sip. Okay, now diving into the beginning of the palate and the end of the palate. The front is where you get those rich caramel notes. Typically, what I would get in like aged bourbons, but I'm getting on this really fine, good rye. Ton of those nice bourbon notes in the front. Transition to the citrus notes I was talking in the middle. And then there is an absolutely long finish for days. That rye spice is just lingering in the throat. As long as you like rye spices, if you like it, you'll like that finish. But there is actually a long lingering finish of that rye. I feel like this is what people want burr ryes to be, because the front half of this drinking experience is almost like you're drinking a bourbon. Whereas the back half of it is like drinking a rye. The front half's where you get those vanillas, caramels, rich bourbon notes, and then almost like it just pivots mid drinking experience, which then switches into citrus notes, lighter, vibrant notes with that rye spice that picks in the middle and just carries you on for days in the finish. Okay, before I get into my final review and grade of the President's Choice Rye, if you're enjoying this content and you want to see future videos like it, hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any of the future videos that I post. So should you try and go out and hunt this bottle when it shows up for allocation in your area? My vote is a hard yes. This will be at the top of my list when I am seeking allocation bottles at the end of the year. This is probably one of the better ryes that I've had in a long time. These are exceptional ryes that I think everyone out there should go out and chase. These are much better than the President's Choice bourbons, in my opinion. The President's Choice bourbons lately have been kind of hit or miss. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen to the President's Choice ryes. These are the first couple barrels that have come out. And if I had to bet, Brown Forman is putting their best barrels first to help build up the brand for these President's Choice ryes. So if you get a chance, try and get one of these earlier barrels, because who knows exactly how they are going to be in the long run. If they're going to turn into more of like what the President's Choice bourbon is turning into today. Now these are expensive. They are 225 or somewhere in that range MSRP. That is a lot of money, especially for someone who is not a rye person. I do not generally like mini ryes out there, but to me, this one is worth every penny. This is one I'm going to try and keep on my shelf when I can. I am sad that this is so low. I didn't drink all this. I split this with a friend. You guys, you know out there who you are if you're watching, but given the price tag, I was hoping to kind of split it up a little bit, in which I think most people should do with how expensive all these bottles are. You can never drink through a whole bottle. There's always a next release coming out. So I love splitting bottles like this. It helps me get through it. I can try it and taste it. And at the same time, you can share those experiences with your good friends. So this bottle is going to be in my end of the year blind. it's easily in my head top 5 releases so far this year. And I think it'll definitely be in the top 10 by the end of the year. But we'll see in the blind where it lands. But in my head, this is one of the best releases that has come out in 2025. But if you're enjoying this content in this review, hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any future videos. And check out this video here before you leave. And until next time, cheers.